How to Improve Absolutely Anything by Katie Labedz. Chapter 16, Herd the Cats or Take them Out One at a Time, Batch versus One Piece Flow. My husband often tells me that instead of making a dozen chocolate chip cookies, I should just make them one giant one like they do at the mall for your birthday. First of all, do I look like Mrs. Fields? No, not even close. Secondly, don't you think the rest of the family would enjoy some cookies, not a big broken piece off a giant one you just bit into? Yes, yes, we'd like to make cookies without your germs and please and thank you. There are benefits to making a whole batch instead of just one. Have you ever gone through an insurance open enrollment process lately? Those poor people in your HR department or with the government, they get hit all at once with a million different questions. They also have to make sure everything is in order when they send over the information to the insurance providers on December 15th. There are literally dire consequences for screwing up that process. Talk about stress. But let's consider the alternative. What would this look like if they didn't do an annual enrollment process for everyone all at one time? Maybe they decide to switch it up to a process based on your hire date every year. Do you think that would make things easier or harder for your company or agency? I used to work for a company that had over 120,000 employees around the world. Enrolling one person at a time for their insurance sounds much better conceptually, but managing that long-term process, especially with that many people, would be a nightmare. And it would limit the buying power of the company if everyone began their insurance and premiums on different dates. The cookies and annual enrollment process are examples of two different concepts, batch and one-piece flow. We can use these concepts to help make improvements to our situations at work and home. Let's take a look at a few more examples. Paying the bills, all the bills, for each week on Friday. That's batch. Paying bills as soon as they come in during the week. That's one-piece flow. Creating an assembly line to make school lunches all at the same time. That's batch. Creating individual lunches one at a time. That's one-piece flow. Going to Starbucks and ordering a venti soy caramel macchiato. That's one-piece flow. Going to Subway and ordering a turkey sandwich. That's one-piece flow too. Buying all of your holiday presents from Amazon. That's batch. Buying 3 bags of softener salt at the hardware store. That's batch. Let's start by looking at the pros and cons of each. The concept behind batch is to build up orders to a certain level in order to reduce the overall average cost. What does that mean? It means that you lay out 8 slices of bread, smooth peanut butter on 4 of them, add a layer of jelly on each one, and finally place the remaining 4 naked pieces on top of bread on top. You have 4 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for your family instead of making them one at a time for 4 people. Instead of making one cell phone at a time, you carry a tray of 10 models as a batch, completing each individual process for all 10 at once. Sounds logical, doesn't it? It is, to some extent. However, there are occasions when batch just doesn't make sense and actually makes things worse. In a manufacturing setting, by batching the production, you can create excess inventory between steps. When there's a quality defect found, it can be more challenging to determine where did that come from in the batch process. You are more likely to have scrap or throw out an entire batch when an issue is found. There goes the entire tray of iPhone XYZs. One-piece flow is all about making one at a time to precisely meet customer demand. I like to use the phrase make one, move one, or MOMO. When I go to Starbucks, the barista makes 1 cup of my fancy beverage just the way I like it. They don't have a big vat of vanilla caramel macchiato sitting around. No, they make it per my specification, just 1 cup at a time. One-piece flow is onboarding new employees just as they join the company, only on the 15th and 30th of the month instead of onboarding them in a group. It is also sending out 1 cell phone at a time all the way through the production process instead of a tray of them in a batch. When an issue is found at station 10 out of 20, they can pinpoint and root cause it faster and fix it. Or just scrap one phone instead of scrapping 10. Is one concept better than the other? No, it depends on the situation and your desired outcomes. I remember working with a client who always sent their banking information for the entire week to the bank on Friday at 3 p.m., so they batched it. Guess what happened at Friday at 4 p.m.? Phones started ringing and inboxes started to fill up. There were issues with the feed again. The accounting team routinely had to work late every single Friday to resolve the issues, which doesn't make for happy team members. There was no time to waste as those entries needed to be posted no later than Friday at midnight. That's an example of a traditional batch process. How did they fix that? They first spoke about implementing one-piece flow. On paper, that sounds like a great plan. However, once they checked with the customer, back to your SIPOC concept, the customer is the bank, one-piece flow wasn't optimal for banking systems. They ended up changing their process to send the bank information in a batch every day at 5 p.m. This allowed them to quickly identify any issues the next morning that they could work to fix it before the next run at 5 p.m. the following day. The impact of this change was immediate. Long-standing issues that were usually addressed with a Band-Aid on a weekly basis were now brought to light and resolved. Honestly, they got tired of seeing that error every single day. The bank was happier with the reduced number of issues, and everyone was able to go home at a decent hour on Friday. Win, win, win. One-piece flow also allows us to receive real-time data, which is a hot topic everywhere. Do you want to wait for the entire shift to complete on the production line to see how much you have in WIP, work in process? Or do you want to know where your customer products are at each step of the way? Real-time data. Do you want to sit at the airport terminal wondering if your flight is leaving on time, or do you want to get a text message if that time changes? Real-time data. Do you want to know if you passed a really hard exam online as soon as you're done? Real-time data. This information isn't intended to be a knock on batch processing. Sometimes batch just makes sense, like in our annual enrollment process. It makes more sense to batch this activity to complete every November rather than on your hire date. It's more efficient to batch your annual performance review process for every October rather than your hire date. A batch process organizes and combines all of those activities that surround it into a timeline for everyone to complete. Training is done all at the same time, and all employees work on self-appraisals at the same time. It also allows companies to forecast more accurately based on the consolidated annual review process. In our barn, we measure out grain for our horses once a month, and we store their meals in labeled plastic containers. This saves us time of having to scoop and measure for all three of them twice a day. If you're making 4 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, it just makes sense to make them in a batch rather than one at a time. What are you currently batching and seeing issues emerge? Are you batching your laundry and finding pink underwear that used to be white? The answer is not to abandon batches and implement one-piece flow, or it would take a really long time to wash clothes for a house with 4 people. Maybe you need to change the way you batch your laundry loads, colors, towels, whites, delicates, instead of just one batch of colors and whites. How about the area that could use a one-piece flow technique? You might be a counselor, a consultant, or therapist, and you need to submit claims to your client insurance company for your services. Switch to one-piece flow by giving yourself time between clients to complete this paperwork instead of trying to complete it all at the end of the day when you're tired and spent. Any kind of paperwork, real or electronic, isn't fun. When you're cooking, take out the ingredients that you need when you need them and then put them back where they belong right away. That's one-piece flow instead of waiting until after you serve your meal and then you have a major disaster to clean up in your kitchen. When you set your outfit for the night before, instead of staring blankly into your closet in the morning when running late for work, you're utilizing one-piece flow. Cookies or coffee, reports or sandwiches, figuring out what works best for you with the least amount of waste. Downtime.